All right, we are on Daf Kof Het, and speaking about wounding on Shabbat. And then in the next Mishnah, we're going to be, this part has a fascinating section about tefillin and the materials upon which one writes tefillin. And next section, we're going to talk about brine and salt water. And then we're going to get into a section about medications on Shabbat and some different medical advice, which you can decide if you want to take by yourself or not. Okay, and tonight for the first time, we have a live audience. Okay, all right, and the Zoom audience. All right, so let's get started. Hayav va'of, right, a few lines down from the top. Mishnah said if one causes a wound in an animal or a bird, that's hayav. Amar Rav Huna kotvin tefillin al gabei od shel of tahor. Now, if something is wounded and you're chayav, that means it has thick skin like a hide, and that's why even if the blood doesn't come out, that means it caused an irreversible wound, that it will never heal the way it was. And that can be, even if it doesn't bleed, if it has thick skin that's keeping it inside. So because of that, there's a correlation between what can be wounded on Shabbat and Chayav and what you can write tefillin on, because tefillin have to be written on hide of a kosher animal. So Rav Huna says you're allowed to write tefillin on the skin of a kosher bird, which is quite interesting and surprising. I'm not sure if anybody has tried this before. We can ask a sofer if they've done this. Okay, Amara, but that means it is a hide, which would make sense because you're chayav for wounding. Amar Rav Yosef, my kamash malan dit le'or tanena hachobel bahen hayav. So Rav Yosef challenges Rav Huna. He says, Rav Huna, what are you trying to teach us? The fact that a bird's skin is a thick hide, we know that already from the Mishnah, because Mishnah says one who causes a wound, that is chayav. So I know for sure that it's a hide. So you don't have to tell me that you could write tefillin. And I can derive it from the Mishnah. What's your chidush? Amar le'Abaye, Tuba kamash malan. No, this was a very important thing that Rav Huna taught us. Because if I only had the Mishnah, yes, I would know that it's thick hide, but I would say because it has a lot of holes, all the feathers that grow cause a lot of holes, and so I might say it's impossible to write something on it because of all the holes. So he comes and kamash malan because something that they say in Eretz Yisrael, any hole that the ink will not pass through is not considered a hole, and therefore those feather holes are very small, and you can write on it. I'm sure you have to prepare it well, but you could write on it, and the ink will not go through. And so that's what Rav Huna is teaching us, that you can write on it just fine, and you can use it for tefillin. Okay, on that we have a question. Metibeh Rabbi Zera Bich Nafav. There's a braita that's talking that mentions Lachshir Ta'or. As a braita that quotes a pasuk in Vayikra that's talking about a bird sacrifice, that you have to tear it by its wings, and that the wings of the bird together go on the mizbeach. And the braita says when it says wings, that comes to include the skin, which means that you would burn the skin on the mizbeach. Now that's unusual. For animals, we have to take off the skin first. We don't put the skin. The skin, because it's a thick hide for animals, it's considered separate, and the Kohanim keep that, and they could use it for whatever, and you don't put that on the mizbeach. So if the fact that you burn the skin of a bird, that implies that it's thin skin that's like the flesh, and not thick skin that's like a hide. So that's his question. And if you think that the skin of a bird is like a hide, then how could the pasuk come to include that you also put that on the mizbeach? It should not be put on the mizbeach if it's hide. Abaye answers brilliantly. He says, exactly, it is hide, and that's why the Torah has to go out of its way to say that you can burn it, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't think so, right? If it was really like skin, you wouldn't have to say anything at all. And so you see, Abaye answers both questions, the one in the first paragraph and then the one in the second paragraph. Okay, so we resolved all that. We had a question about Rav Huna, a challenge, and then we resolved all the challenges. Okay, all of that same material was transmitted a little bit differently. Instead of a challenge and a response to the challenge, we have the same, we just switch it around and it's an attempted proof. And then we say, no, the proof is not necessarily a proof. But we're going to see it's the same content. And here we have Amar Bi Zera. He's the one that asked the question before. Now we're bringing him first as a possible proof. We have something to back up the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that making a wound in a bird is considered a wound. Therefore, it's like hide. And the Bizera says bichnafав to include the hide that you put on the altar. Because it is considered, if we consider it hide, that's why the Torah has to come and say, even though it's hide, you can still burn it. But if it's not hide, if it's just fleshy skin, then why would you need a pasuk to include it? You wouldn't. So there you go. Here we have a proof that the Mishnah, from a Braita to the Mishnah. It's actually quite strange to bring a proof from a Braita to a Mishnah, because Mishnah is of higher authority. Amar le'Abaye, le'olam emalach lav orhu. V'istarich sakadeh techamina kevan de'it pirse me'is kamashma alan. Abaye says, no, I could say, no, he's not necessarily saying this, but it's possible to say that it's like skin. The bird skin is like flesh. And still you need to say that it can be put on the altar, because I might think that it's repulsive because it's the bird skin has all holes in it, and so therefore I might think it's not fitting to be put on the mizbech. Therefore, the pasuk comes to teach us that's fitting, even though it has holes in it, and not because it's not considered, not because it's considered hide. Okay, so therefore it's not necessarily proof, but it's not a disproof either. All right, so now we know that bird skin is considered like hide. Now, while we're on the topic of what else can you write tefillin on, can you write tefillin on fish skin? That's even more interesting. Okay, some fish skin, like branzino has pretty thick skin. I imagine you could dry it out and maybe be able to write on it. That would be interesting. Let's see what the answer is. I don't know. We don't know. When Eliyahu Nabi comes in the end of days, we'll ask him, and he'll tell us the halacha. Otherwise, we don't have an answer. What do you mean? Why do you have to ask Eliyahu? What does the question depend on? Whether the skin is thick like a hide or not. Well, let's look at it, right? We'll test it out. We'll see if it's thick or thin. What do you need Eliyahu to come give us a simple scientific test? And furthermore, we have a proof from a Mishnah where it says that the fish bones and fish skin are not considered tameh. In general, whenever you have an animal or fish or bird that's tameh, only the flesh is tameh. But the other parts that are not edible, the skin and bones, are not tameh. If it's skin that's separate, like a hide. And so there's a halacha that the skin of a fish will protect from ohel hamet. If there's a dead body in a room, everything in the room becomes tameh, unless it's covered by something that doesn't receive tum'ah. And since the Mishnah says that something that is covered by fish skin will be protected, so that means that fish skin does not mikabel tum'ah. And if it's not mikabel tum'ah, that means that it is like hide. It's its own separate thing. And so we have a proof from science and what? A fish coat, right? A protective coat. I think actually any leather coat would be fine. Even animal also skin would protect from it. Okay, good. So what do we need Eliyahu for? We have a scientific proof. We have a Mishnah proof. Ela im yabo Eliyahu v'yomar. We need Eliyahu to come and tell us if the smell of the fish goes away enough. I don't think it's talking about either a scientific smell, because that also you could smell it and see. But rather, is it considered disgusting or is it proper or something nice? I mean, leather goods, those are considered high line. If you wear leather shoes, leather handbag, and so on. But do you ever see anybody make something out of fish? Fish skin? No, not really. Okay, so that's what we have to ask Eliyahu. Is that considered high fashion or not? Is that considered? fancy. Okay, Shemuel v'Karna havu yatbe agudad nahar Malka. Now we have a fun story. Shemuel and this man named Karna were sitting at the edge of the Malka River, and hazinu lemayadeka dalu v'achire, and they saw the water was rising and it was murky, and they said, this looks like a sign. What is it a sign for? Amale Shemuel lekarna gabrara baka atemi ma'araba v'haish b'ma'eh. So we know that a great person is coming, a great sage is coming from Israel to Bavel. I'm not sure if he knew that from the waves or if he knew that already, but the waves, the murkiness of the waves are telling us is a sign that he has a bad stomach ache. He has some intestinal problem. And the waves are coming to greet him, and maybe the waves are what caused him a stomach ache in the first place. Okay, so however he knew and what he knew, there's different interpretations. But somehow he knows that he hears this great man is coming and he has intestinal problems. Okay, zil tehele an akan kaneh. So Mushmel tells Karna, go and check him out. Literally, go and smell his barrel. That's a statement meaning when you want to test out wine to see if it's good wine or not, right? You open it up and you sniff to see if it has good aroma, to see if it's quality wine. So he's saying, we hear his reputation that he's a great scholar. Go and check him out, sniff him up to see if he's really a great scholar or not, see if he's worthy of his reputation. So Azal Ashkehai Lerab, the scholar who came happened to be Rav, the first generation Amorah, the colleague of Shemuel, right? I mean, one of the greatest Amoraim of all time. Amale, but they didn't know him yet. Amale minayin shen kotvin tefillin ela gabe or behema tehora. Asked him, how do you know that when you're writing tefillin, it can only be written on animal hide of a kosher animal? It has to be, right, from a cow, a goat, sheep. Can't write on pigskin. How do you know that? Because it says the word of Torah should be in your mouth, from that which you can eat. And so it has to be a kosher animal, which is really quite a beautiful derasha, right? The idea that even though we're not eating our tefillin, right? But because the Torah that's written on it should be within our mouths all the time, so symbolically we have to write it on something that is potentially could be edible, so that we should always be imbibing and ingesting the words of the Torah that are written upon them. Minayin ledam. Okay, so he passed that test. Second question. Minayin ledam shehu adom. How do you know that blood is red? All right, that sounds like a hard question. He can't just say go and look at it. Shemar vayiru. Maybe he wants to know. Can you prove it from the Tanakh? Vayiru Moab mineged tamayim adumim kadam. In the famous war of the northern and southern kings against Moab, there was the sun was shining on the water just so that it looked like blood, and the Moabites saw that and they became scared. So you see that it says Adumim kadam, red like blood. There you go, a proof from the Torah that blood is red. Right. This reminds me of the joke about yeshiva bachers that they only study Talmud, they never study Tanakh. So he asked them, how do you know that Moshe is Aaron's brother? They said, oh, it's a beferush gemaran, baba masiyan. They can quote you the page where it says that. Okay, so he passed that test. It could be that maybe there's some halachic relevance to law and chot nidah. There's different shades of red that you need to know what is considered blood and what's not considered blood. Okay, minayin the milah shebe'ato makom. How do you know that you do berit milah in the reproductive organ of a male? Ne'emar kan or latov, ne'eman lehalan or lato. Regarding the tree, a new tree that you plant, it says the same word orla. And so just like Brit Milah says orla, meaning the foreskin, and over there it says you're not allowed to eat the fruit for the first 3 years, and the 4th year it's kodesh. And it says the word there, orlato, meaning the fruit. So we learned that just like there, just like there, it's referring to the fruit that contained the seed that will reproduce more fruit. So too, regarding Brit Milah, it has to do the place that produces seed that will reproduce the next generation. Okay, which also makes a lot of sense that you want to do the Brit Milah on something that will talk about the future, that this is not only you are entering the Brit, but also future generations, which is what Abraham's message was all about 4 generations from his time coming out of Egypt and accepting the Torah and so on. Okay. Well, okay, if you're going to bring another pasuk, I can look up in my concordance and find the word orla in many places. Maybe it means the heart. And so there it says you have to do a milah, berit milah, on your heart. So you got to do some kind of open heart surgery and take out a valve or two. And that's how you enter the berit. We won't last very long as a nation if we do that. But exegetically, right? Why is one better than the other? Ema ozno, or maybe you pierce your ear. Or remove a little cartilage there. It says the word orla, and in connection with oznam, their ears are stopped up that they don't hear. So the answer is danin orlato tamam and danin orlato tamam orla she'ena tamah. We learn the word orla by itself from the word orla by itself, and not the one where orla is connected with and the modifier with a different word. So the one says orlat livavchem or orla adela oznam. It's a part of a compound phrase, whereas over here in these 2 places with the fruit tree and Brit Milah, it's just orlato by itself. Okay, so he answered that question too. So that's it. Now I've answered 3 questions. There's the security questions to get into your website. So he passed. Now it's Rav's turn to go back. Rav says, what's your name? Karna. Says, may it be God's will that a horn should emerge from your eye. In other words, you're testing. He realized that he's not just asking him questions because he wants to know the halacha. He's challenging him, and that was in a disrespectful way. And so a horn, I don't know if that means a whole horn or maybe just a pimple or something is going to be on his eye. So lasof, and it doesn't say if it happened or not. Okay. Lasof aileh Shemuel lebeteh, and then finally he passed the test. Shemuel says, okay, come over. And so Shemuel, wonderful host that he is, feeds him barley bread, some fried fish, and beer. In other words, a lot of things that are going to make his intestines move quickly. And he did not show him where the bathroom was. So this seems like kind of cruel, unusual punishment. Now you have to remember, Shemuel was a doctor. And so Shemuel had good intentions, and he was trying to relieve him of his intestinal problems. But I don't know why he didn't tell him that. So Rav thought that this was really mean. And Kihechi delishtal did it so that he would be able to relieve himself quickly. Layet, it needs time, I guess, to ingest in there until it's the right time to come out. Anyway, Layit Rav Amad Man de Misaran La Lukmuha Le Bene Vechen Hava. Rav said, well, the person that's making us suffer, his children should not survive. And that is what happened. So poor Shemuel is only trying to help, but he even helping, but doing it in a way that causes a great person to suffer, and that added injury to insult, right? From before. So that was not in a good mood. Okay. Anyway, Ketanae, this question about the orla is machloket of Tanaim. Minayin lemila sheboto makom. How do you know that is in the reproductive organ? Markan olato, nemalanor olato. Balan dabash yosef pri avkan dabash yosef pri dibre Rabbi Yoshia. That's the answer that we just saw that Rav gives from orla of fruit. However, that's only opinion of Rabbi Yoshia. Rabbi Natan omed eno sarich. Hare omed ve'adel zachar lo yumol et ve'adel zachar asher. Let's have a simpler way. You don't need to bring a gezerah shava from the same word, and then you get complicated with what about other times where other places that it appears, you have to say, no, it's only that word by itself. It doesn't really work so well. Have a simpler way. Right where in the original context, when Abraham is given the law, it says Arel Zachar, a male person who does not receive a Brit Milah, and it says Arel Zachar. So it's mentioning specifically a male person. So that means it's something that is distinctive that only a male person has. Makom shenikar ben zachrut lenakbut has to be in a place where you can distinguish between the male and female. And so that's how he learns where it is. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. כותבים תפילין על גבי אור בהמה טהורה, ועל גבי אור חיה טהורה, ועל גבי אור נבלות וטרפות שלהן. Okay, while we're on the subject of what you can write tefillin on, so you can write tefillin, we'll elaborate more, you can write tefillin on a behema, a regular domesticated animal that is kosher, or a wild animal that's kosher, like a deer, and it doesn't have to be kosher slaughtered. Even if it just died on its own, or it was killed in any other way, it's not kosher to eat, but it's kosher to write tefillin on, right? So it doesn't have to be actually kosher to eat, just from a kosher animal, no matter how it died.
What if the animal has a woman? Could you use that?
You can still use it, as long as it's the species of a kosher animal, even if it's not edible, right? And not only the cloth itself, but you also use its hair and its sinews to tie it, to tie the tefillin, which is what we do. So the whole thing is every part of it is from a kosher animal. And this we know, a law from Moshe at Sinai, that this is how it's prepared. You cannot use unkosher animals, domesticated or wild, and all the more so, you can't use a non-kosher animal that died on its own. And for a non-kosher animal, the whole category of shechita doesn't make sense. If you eat pig that's nishchat or electrocuted, it doesn't make any difference. And you don't use their hair or their sinews to sew it. Okay, so that's all the baraita. Rabbi Yoshua Hagarsi is continuing the baraita, and we have a very interesting conversation here, dialogue between a Beit Tosi, a Bothusian. The word Beit Tosim occurs only in Sifrut Chazal, in rabbinic literature, but it refers to a sect, a Jewish sect, during the time of the second Bet HaMikdash, and it's interchangeable with the Sadokim. Rabbi Harari wrote his dissertation about the Beit Tosim, which is a good, worthy read. And some people, since the word Beit Tosim does not occur in Josephus or any Greek writer or in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Professor Zusman thinks that Beit Tosi is actually a compound word from Bet Isiim, the house of the Essenes. And Essenes is a group that is mentioned by Josephus and Philo. And so since they don't mention Beit Tosim, and the rabbis never mention Essenes, but if this is in fact the case, that Beit Tosim is the house of the Essenes, then they refer to the same thing. And their halachic view is very close to the Sadducees, so that would make sense. Anyway, this Beit Tosi asked to be Yoshua Hagarsi, how do you know that you can't write tefillin on a non-kosher animal? So look, even this Beit Tosi knows the answer, right? I guess it's not such a hard question to ask Rav. Okay, from something you can eat. If so, then you should not be able to write it on an animal hide of a nebela or terefa, of a sick animal or one that died on its own, because they're not kosher. If the whole point, the whole derivation is that you can eat it, then it should be a kosher slaughtered animal. It's a good question. לשני בני אדם שנתחייבו הריגה למלכות, אחד הרגו מלך ואחד הרגו איספקליטור, איזה מהן משובח? הווה אומר זה שהרגו מלך. A parable to two people that got the death penalty. One, the king himself killed him with his own hands. And another one, the inspector. That's literally inspeklitor in Greek. The executioner killed him. Which one is greater? Well, certainly it's more honorable to be killed by the king himself. I'm not sure if you'd care, if you were in the situation, but I guess it's even worse. Like in Ha'azinu when it says a non-nation is going to come and kill you, right? It's like even worse to be killed by some lowly official. All right, so certainly it's better to be killed by the king himself. So that's the mashal, nimshal elamata. All right, so the nimshal is that if an animal dies on its own because of its own sickness, then God is killing him. So that animal is even higher status than one that a human being kills. We are just like the lowly inspectors. So if you're allowed to use an animal that this shechita was done, then all the more so you can use an animal that died on its own for tefillin. All right, that's a good answer. He has a good comeback about this Baitosi. In that case, you should eat it also, because it's on a higher level. You were thinking that too, right? What do you mean? You Baitosi? The Torah says you're not allowed to eat it. You say you should eat it? You're going against the Torah? The Baitosim, they believed in the Torah Shebichtav. They didn't agree with Torah Shebe'al Peh. So now you're going against your own Torah? Amale kalos. He says, oh, good point. Kalos is a Greek word that means beautiful, right? So I agree. That's it. You got me there. You got me. Okay. Of course, the rabbis win. But this is very interesting because there's a Professor Schwartz who wrote an article showing that very often when you have arguments from sectarians against the rabbis, they argue from a kal vachomer, because this is like a logical proof that the rabbis agree with and that everyone can understand. And so this is one of many cases where a challenge is brought by a kal vachomer, but the rabbis are able successfully to deflect it in this case because they're dealing with someone who does agree with the authority of Scripture.
So I feel like this bificha also responds to a potential maybe sectarian or maybe just a literalist who's saying that everything is, so you have to pick. It says between your eyes and on your arm. So if it's literal there, you have to it should also be beficha literal. So obviously beficha is not literal because you're not actually putting the Torah in your mouth. So you probably just keep it as a reminder on near your heart and eyes.
Right.
So
okay. That's very interesting. Right. Yeah. How literally are we taking the whole pasuk? Right. So the rabbis are taking like hyper literally that you're actually putting it on your arm and between your eyes, and it's like as if you could eat it. You have to be kosher. Whereas the other sectarian, we know the Dead Sea sect did wear tefillin. We're not sure if other people like the Bothus, we have no idea if they wore tefillin or not, or took the whole thing as a parable. And if so, that's behind their challenge to their way they're reading this pasuk literally. So that's very interesting. Okay, good, thank you. The Mishnah says, "En osin hilmeh b'Shabbat." You're not allowed to make brine on Shabbat, the salt water, strong brine, because pickling would be a problem of, as part of tanning leather, is also using a substance that's very salty, so you can't do that. It's also preparing, if you're making pickles, you're preparing for after Shabbat. But you can make salt water. And you can dip your bread in the salt water, or you can put the salt water into a dish. So what's the difference between making the brine and making the salt water? We're going to see it has to do with the amount of the brine. You make a lot of it in one big batch. Salt water, you just make a little bit, like on Pesach, a little cup, just to dip in. Okay, or is there a difference in the actual ingredients? We'll see. Amar bi Yoseh. Says, what's the difference? You're still making brine, whether it's a little bit or a lot. You can't, on Shabbat, you can't do a little bit of a melacha or a lot as opposed to a lot of a melacha. If it's not allowed, it's not allowed. So instead of Yoseh, what is allowed? This is a combination of three things. Oil also. What you can do is you can take the oil and water first, mix it, and then put the salt in. Or the oil and water first, mix it, doesn't mix, and then put the salt in. that's okay because the salt is not going to mix well with something with oil in it, and therefore it won't be so strong. But if you put the salt and water together first, then it will mix well. And we put the oil in after, then it will be strong. So it's just the order that you make things. That's the difference between hilmi and just melach. Okay, but Rabbi Yosef disagrees with the chachamim. Okay, so my kama, let's explain what this Mishnah is all about. Right, so you can't make a lot, but you can make a little. That's what the Chachamim say. Now we have a question. When Rabbi Yosef says, hey, what's the difference between a lot and a little? Is he saying this to be machmir or to be mekel? Is he saying a lot and a little is the same and both are not allowed, or that both are allowed, right? It's not clear. He's just saying you should make a distinction between a lot and a little. He's saying it's allowed, even a lot is allowed.
It's just for what you're going to use it for, is what's not allowed.
He said, Rabbi ends up saying it depends what the order is, but the amount doesn't matter. I mean, you leave it for later, whatever. So initially we say it's lehatid. If it was not allowed, he should say asur. Then we would know. If he doesn't say that, we have to assume he means mutar. At the end he says, but this is a proper way, the permitted way to do it. By saying this is the permitted way to do it, by putting the oil first, right? That means that means this previous statement was saying it's not allowed, right? So this actually makes more sense. Okay, so this is how it goes. The Rabbanan say you can't make hilme, but you can make memelach. You can't, which sounds like you can't make a lot, but you can make a little. The Bioseh says, what's the difference between a lot and a little? If a lot is not allowed, a little is not allowed, a lot is not allowed. They're all not allowed. The only way that you can do it is with my recipe, and that way it's allowed. So that fits. Okay, Tanya. Tanyana mehachi, we have a beraita, in fact, backs us up. And osin me melach merubin latet letocha kebashin shebetocha gistera. We have a beraita that says you can't make a large amount of salt water to put into the pickled vegetables in this special earthenware pot shard that's used for pickling. So you can't do a lot. It's usually amount that you would make for pickling. That's not allowed. But you can make a little because that's the way that you normally eat it and you consume it right on the spot. So it's as you said, it depends what it's used for, right? And that will reflect on how much is there. This is all the Braita version. The Braita has a more expansive version of the Mishnah in which the logic is all spelled out. And he says, just because it's a lot or a little, that makes it asur mutar, right? What you're going to learn from that in other cases, if you cook a little, it's okay. Or if you cook for a big meal, that is not good. If you cook for 3 people, it's okay. Not for 100 people. And this is all wrong. We never found anything like this. Both a lot and a little are not allowed if you're doing it the regular way, making salt water. But rather, you can put noten shemen umelach or shemen umayim, as long as you put the oil first with one of the ingredients. That's okay. Okay, good. So now we explained our Mishnah. And next, we're going to have a section. There's a mnemonic here, azin, senon, etrog, siman. If you remember that, we're talking about strong, radish, etrog, and that's the order of the next few halachot. You can't make the strong salt water. My melach azin. If it's strong enough, if there's enough salt in it, that an egg can float in it, right? By having more saturated salt, this is a good science experiment for kids, right? How much salt do you have to put before an egg floats? 2/3 salt and 1/3 water, it will float. And I don't think that could mean that you put 2/3 salt compared to the same volume. Maybe 2/3 of saturated salt water with a third of just water. Lemay abdila, why would you ever use such salty water? Amar Rabbi Abahu lemuraisa, for fish brine, you pickle fish in it. Taneh Rabbi Yehuda, they had this special little fish that you just put in the salt water, and without cooking it, that would cook it just by the strength of the salt. Taneh bar Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda bar Habiba, en molchin senon ubesa b'Shabbat. Are you not allowed to salt a radish or an egg? Because then that improves them. It's kind of like cooking it. Rabbi Chizkiah Mishmed Abaye Amar Senon Asur Besam Muteret. Senon is not allowed, but an egg is okay. Mar Nachman Meresh Ava Milcha Pulga. Nachman says, I always used to salt radishes. I thought it was allowed. Amena Af Sodek Mafsidna Le Damar Shmuel Pulga Horfe Ma'ale. I thought that makes him worse, because Shmuel said that sharpness is good for radish. So it's good if it's raw. When you salt it, then it makes it less sharp, and then it's worse. It's not as good at that. It's not as good that way. Maybe in terms of how it's medicinal, how good it is for you. And so I used to put salt because making it worse is okay. Kevan deshman aleha kiha dechi atash ula v'amar v'marabah malchei kishre mimlach lam malchana tibule v'day matbilna. But now I heard that in the West they salt piles and piles of radishes. Means during the week when it's allowed, and the salt it makes it better. Now I know that salting makes it better. I don't do it on Shabbat anymore, but I will put salt and then dip the radish in the salt. That's just a normal way of eating, and it's not considered preparing, cooking, improving in that way. Taneh Rabbi Yehuda bar Habiba etrog senon ubesa ilmale klipatan haisona enan yosein mebnei ma'ayim le'olam. These etrog, a radish and an egg, if not for the peel, for an egg it must be the white part of it. If you just eat the inside by itself, it will never come out of your intestines. They're difficult to digest, but the peel helps out. So we're getting back to the theme we said before of different digestive diseases, the one like Rav had. Maybe you should have more of the peel. So Avdimi says, no one ever drowned in the Dead Sea. I guess it's true. Because you float. I don't know, maybe if you go face down, but it's all, you got to really work hard to do that. Rav Yosef, hafucha sedom, hafucha milah. Rav Yosef says, what kind of nonsense statement is that? Just like Sodom was turned upside down, so too your words are upside down. Right? What are you saying? Gabrahu de lo taba kishura taba. Are you trying to teach us that a human being never sank, but a piece of wood sank? Why are you saying that a person never sank? Nothing sinks in the Dead Sea. Right? What are you saying? Amar le'Abaye, lami baya kama. This is what I meant to say. I meant not only this. Lami baya kishura dafil b'chol mimot sheba'olam lo taba. Not only a piece of wood which will not sink in any body of water anywhere in the world. Of course, that will not sink in the Dead Sea. Ela afilu gabra de taba b'chol mimot sheba'olam bi'amat istom lo taba. But even a human being who in general would sink in other water does not sink in the Dead Sea. That's what I meant to say. Okay, now it makes more sense. What's the difference? One time, Ravin was walking behind Rabbi Yirmiyah near the Dead Sea, and he said, can you wash yourself with this water on Shabbat or not, because it has medicinal value. And generally, you're not allowed to do anything that's therapeutic, that's medicinal on Shabbat, because you might come to grind spices to make a medicine. So anything medicinal is not allowed. And so bathing, even back then, right now people go and travel all over to put some mud on them. But even back then, right, they knew that this is good for the skin. This is good for the body. So are you allowed? Yes, it's okay. You're allowed to go in the water. Okay, fine. How about, can you close and open your eyes in the water? I don't know. This seems like it would be kind of painful. I'm not sure what kind of eye disease this would be good for. Don't try this at home. All right, but anyway, by closing open your eyes, you kind of more directly, I'm not just swimming, but you can't swim at all, but actually this would be good. Yeah, you're not allowed to float in water on Shabbat, but you can go in water on Shabbat. Okay, so how about opening and closing your eyes, which then makes it clear that you're doing it for medicinal purposes? Lo shamati kayoseh no lo shamati. I never heard a tradition about that specifically, but I heard something similar. I did hear the following tradition from Rabbi Zera. Sometimes he said the name of Rabbi Navtana. Sometimes he said in the name of Mar Ukva. But whenever he said it, he would say them in the name of, in turn, Shemuel, the father of Shemuel, and Levi. Okay, so Rabbi Zera is saying this in the name of either the father of Shemuel and Levi through two different conduits. I guess he heard it from both sages, and so he interchanged who he would say it from. The middle chain. Okay. Hadamad yain betoch ayin asur al gava ayin mutar. Hadamad rok tafel afilu al gabe ayin asur. So one of them, either Shemuel or either Avush the Shemuel or Levi, one said that wine was considered good for an eye infection. Perhaps the alcohol in the eye would be good to take it away. That you can't put it on the eye itself, because that's on Shabbat, because that's medicinal. But you can put it on top of with a closed eye, on top of the eye. That's okay, because it's more removed. However, saliva, which also was believed to have medicinal benefit, and it is good for the eye. You can put saliva in the eye. If you ever don't have contact lens solution, use saliva, right? It's the same, pH balance and things does. Anyway, so that you cannot do at all, not even on top of the eyelid. Okay. Now, who said which one? We want to know. Must be Shmuel said the one about the wine, the halacha about the wine. Because he said you can put bread and dip it in wine, and then you can put the bread on top of your eye. So it means you're putting it on top of the eye and not in your eye. So who did he learn it from? Shmuel said that. He must have heard it from his father. So that one is from his father. Okay. But the other statement, Shmuel also said, we have a statement from Shmuel that said, saliva, you cannot put on the eye at all. Who did he hear from that? Certainly probably heard it from his father. So really Shmuel said both things. So if you attribute that both to Shmuel's father, then Levi is left with nothing. And we know Levi was also quoted over here. So in other words, they could both be Shmuel's father, but then you leave Levi with nothing. So we know we heard that one from his Levi and one from his father. We don't know which one's which. Truth is, they don't contradict, right? They work together. So maybe they all agreed on it. Okay, so that's all fine. Amar Mor Ukba, Amar Shemuel, Shore Adam Kilorin Me'erev Shabbat, Venoten al Gab Einav. Shabbat. Now, another statement that we learn from Shemuel is that you could put this, you can soak this eye salve on Shabbat. You soak it before Shabbat, then you can put it on your eye on Shabbat. No problem. But you can't prepare it on Shabbat itself. So one time, this rabbi was in front of Mar Ukva and he was opening and closing his eyes, right, to get the medication. Shmuel didn't say you could do that. He said you could put it on, but you can't open and close your eyes. This is why we learned this whole thing, because of that question, can you open and close your eyes in the Dead Sea? And so the answer would be no, because it would be comparable to this. It's clear that you're doing it for medicinal purposes. No, he didn't allow that. Shalach le Rabbi Yanai le Mar Ukba, v'shadad lan mar mehanach kilorin de Shemuel. So one time, Rabbi Yanai said, "Can you send me some of that eye medication that Shemuel makes? I need some." I will send you some because I don't want you to say that I'm stingy. The way you say stingy in Hebrew is sad ayin, narrow of eye. So I think there's a play on words. I'll send you this eye medication so you can open your eye so that you don't call me narrow of eye. So I'll send it to you. But the truth is you don't need it. אלא הכי כמה שמואל, טובת טיפת צונן שחרית ותכסת ידיים ורגליים בחמין ערבית מכל קילורין שבעולם. And you know what's better than anything? A little bit of cold water in the morning and some warm water on your hands and feet at night, and that will keep you healthy. I guess you put the cold water on your eye, you wash it, and you keep your hands clean from touching and infecting your eye, and that's better than any medication in the world. So I'm going to send it to you because I don't want you to call me stingy, but really you don't need it. Tanya na mehachi. We have a baraita that in fact says this as well. Amar Rabbi Mona. Ishum Rabbi Yehuda. Tobati patson and shachrit v'chasat yadam v'raglam abit mikol kilorin shebaolam. Same advice as a baraita. Almost done. One more paragraph. Hu haya omer yad la'ayin tikases. This Rabbi Mona, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, he also used to give other advice. He says, if someone puts their hand on their eye, it should be cut off. Okay, because cut off the hand, because it's not good for your eye. Ayad lachotam tikases. Also, your nose. Don't touch your nose. Yad lapeh tikases. Don't put your eye in your mouth. This is good for coronavirus advice, right? Keep them away. Keep your hands away. Yad la'ozen tikases. Also your ear. You get an ear infection. Yad lahasuda tikases. A wound. Don't touch a wound. Yad la'amma tikases. Don't touch your private member. Yad la'fitaba tikases. Don't put your hand near where number 2 comes out. Yad legigi tikases. Don't put your hand in a barrel of beer, and you're gonna ruin it. Yad misama, yad mahareshet, yad ma'ale polipos, because that will cause blindness or deafness, or will cause polyps to grow in the nose or mouth. Tanya, Rabbi Natan Omer, Bat Horin hizo makapedet ad shirchos yadav shalosh pe'amim. Says that the evil spirit that is on one's hands, when after you sleep in the morning, is really stubborn and will not leave until you wash it 3 times, and only then it will leave. Twice it's going to stick around. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Puch ma'abir bat melech uposek bet hadim'a marbe se'ar ba'af apayim. He said, if you put some eyeshadow on, that causes this evil spirit called the daughter of king to go away, and also stops tears, and also is good for growing eyelashes. Tanya mehachi. It looks like that anyway. Rabbi Yosef Omer, Puch ma'abir bat melech uposek bet hadim'a marbe se'ar. And so you see, even though they didn't know what germs and viruses are, but so they called it a different name, right? They called it an evil spirit, and they knew that it was harmful. Touching any orifices in the body would transfer infection, and so therefore this was a wonderful halacha that kept people safe and clean and healthy, and that may we all have good health. Baruch Adonai Olam, Amen ve'amen.